What's up, nerds? Knights of the Old Republic, or KOTOR for short, has one of the most interesting narratives in all of Star Wars media. 4,000 years before the original movies, the Republic is on the brink of collapse due to the Jedi Civil War. Your main character is caught in the middle of this conflict and is forced to pick a side. Either you choose to vanquish the Sith Empire or conquer the galaxy for yourself. But what if there was a better way, I wondered? Could peace be an option? In the never-ending battle between the light and dark sides of the Force, can I find a way to beat Knights of the Old Republic by playing as a pacifist? To answer that question, let's head to character creation. KOTOR lets you choose between 3 starting classes that specialize in different things. Soldiers are combat specialists, scouts suck, and scoundrels are stealthy conversationalists. Seeing as stealth and persuasion are both invaluable skills for avoiding combat, choosing the scoundrel class is a no-brainer. Our appearance doesn't affect gameplay at all though, so I went with the profile that almost looks like Sam Witwer. Moving on to our stats, strength, dexterity, and constitution are all statistics that affect combat, which means we don't care about them. Instead, I choose to focus on wisdom for saves, charisma for persuasion, and most importantly, intelligence so that we can invest in more skills. We want to focus on stealth and persuasion the most, but we also want to invest in repair and computer use for reasons that I will explain soon. To round off my character, I give him the gearhead feat and name him Pax. With that, we're off to the races. The game opens with our hero peacefully resting aboard a Republic vessel called the Endar Spire. Unfortunately, his slumber is interrupted by the damnable racket of a space battle. It's then that a Republic soldier by the name of Trask Ulgo barges into Pax's room and demands that he assist in the defense of the ship. Pax tries to explain that this is all just one big cosmic misunderstanding. In response, Trask tells our hero to stop being a hippie and go kill something. Seeing as the Endar Spire is the tutorial of KOTOR, there are quite a few restrictions placed on the player. You are forced into at least 4 combat scenarios with no way around them, and each enemy you encounter must be killed by you to progress. So no, you cannot beat KOTOR with a pacifist rule set. However, we can still explore the challenge of beating KOTOR with a pacifist play style. I am still going to avoid all combat as far as the plot allows, and I'll be locked into making questline decisions that lead to the least amount of violence. These rules affect the run of KOTOR more than you would think, and caused me lots of pain. So stay tuned to watch me suffer. Anyway, returning to Pax, his mandatory combat performance is understandably abysmal, and our tutorial companion is getting sick of it. Rather than babysit our hero for another minute, Trask jumps into combat with a Sith Lord and dies. Pax does his best to not take that personally and decides to look for new friends. Thankfully, there's one nice person left on the ship, and that's Carth Onasi. Beggars can't be choosers, so our hero gets to looking for his new buddy. In doing so, Pax successfully sneaks around some guards rather than fighting them, which awards some XP. You would think that stealth XP is some kind of hidden mechanic in KOTOR, but it isn't. While a huge bummer for our run, our hero has other ways of getting XP. One such way is using the repair skill to revive scrap droids. Reactivating these droids and fixing their systems awards decent XP in and of itself, but the real profit comes from when the scrap droids actually wake up. Once revived, a scrap droid will automatically attack any enemy NPCs they come across, sometimes netting a few kills in the process. And seeing as these kills are coming from an uncontrollable non-companion, the XP is fair game. Plausible deniability for the win. Now that our hero's path is clear, he can finally meet up with Carth. Pax is excited to get to know the guy and introduce himself, but for some reason Carth is far more interested in staring at a nearby wall. This makes for an awkward escape pod trip to say the least. The pair's escape pod crash lands on Terrace, and Pax is knocked out for a few days. Upon waking up, he finds Carth not staring at a wall, and actually willing to talk to him now. Carth tells our hero that they have to find Bastila Shan, a prominent Jedi Knight who also took an escape pod down to Terrace. Pax would like a normal friend for a change, so he agrees to help. Upon stepping outside of his apartment, our hero bears witness to a violent dispute between a Sith patrol and a couple locals. Even if our hero could help, it wouldn't be necessary, as this Duros is able to wipe out the patrol no problem. A bit of a rough first impression for Terrace, Pax thinks, but surely public displays of violence weren't going to be common, right?
Jedi Duncan!
Pax has a bad feeling about this. The upper city of Terrace does sport a few violent pastimes that our hero cannot participate in, but that's not to say there aren't any non-violent activities. Pax is able to clear bounties off of some innocent people, assist a doctor, helplessly watch gangsters drag away an old man, and even attend a sweet party. Using a Sith uniform that he found at the aforementioned party, our hero is able to make his way to the lower city. Here things are a little less friendly. There are more than a few enemies spread around that don't take well to Pax existing. However, these bad guys can be easily lured into some invincible guard NPCs that draw aggro and kill them off. Seeing as this is literally free XP, our hero employs Karth to strategically agitate some malefactors in a technique I like to call the Pacifist Shuffle. I get to do this whole process again at a local apartment complex by luring enemies to a reprogrammed scrap droid. However, that debacle takes an hour and doesn't even award a level up for my trouble. Welp. Moving on, Pax dances for the amusement of the masses and burglarizes some criminals before speaking with the Hidden Becks, a prominent swoop gang in the lower city. Their leader lets our hero know that Bastila is being held by a rival gang called the Black Vulkars, and a local by the name of Mission Veo can help Pax infiltrate their base. Again, not having to deal with Karth's 1,000-yard stare alone would be great, so our hero gets a move on to the Undercity. What is the Undercity, you ask? Well, it's a godforsaken scrap heap with deadly zombies that attack anything that moves. There are no guards to fight these guys either, because the people of the Undercity are too scared. Pax is a pacifist. What's their excuse? To show the people of the Undercity how independent and brave he is, our hero tells Karth to deal with the Rakghoul while he hides. The actual reason I do this is because this Rakghoul in specific is a required enemy. If it does not die, Mission Vale will not spawn, and the main story cannot progress. Kind of a weird requirement to fulfill, but whatever I guess. Now that Mission is allowed to exist, she asks for our hero's help in rescuing her Wookiee buddy Zalbar from some Gamorreans in the sewers. Pax wasn't expecting a 2-for-1 deal, but he isn't complaining. Delving into the sewers now, our hero astutely observes that the place is crawling with bad guys. Just as Pax was preparing to write off this floor as uncheesable, he stumbles upon a scrap droid in an off room. He wasn't expecting a lot from this little guy, maybe just a few kills before inevitably breaking down, but little did our hero know that this was no ordinary scrap droid. This is the legendary Crab Boy. I love this little guy. Unfortunately, our crab boy cannot join us for the rest of our explorations, so Pax bids him farewell and moves on. Within the Black Vulkar base now, Pax finds an invincible scrap droid to reactivate and lets it go to town on all the bad guys. This takes a while because the droid only deals like 2 damage per hit as a trade-off for its invincibility, so our hero has to do the Pacifist Shuffle for a real-world hour before it can finally clear the floor. It was incredibly boring. The next floor of the Vulkar base is mercifully less eventful. Pax skips to the final room, which contains an underboss named Candon. He asks our hero to sell out the Hidden Becks for money, but Pax would never, ever commit to an action that ultimately leads to violence. Candon and his goons resort to attacking our hero instead, but Pax can just turn a corner and run away. As a slap on the wrist for these bad boys and girls, our hero swipes a fancy-looking swoop engine on his way out. Turns out this was a really good idea because there's gonna be a swoop racing competition to free Bastila. All it takes is a couple attempts, and the competition is won. Unfortunately, the leader of the Black Vulkars, Brejik, decides to withdraw Bastila from the race and keep her for himself. Just as Pax was about to do nothing about this, Bastila herself breaks free and lays the smackdown on everybody. Thankfully, Bastila does not count as a companion right now, so her rampage is completely legal. And as she does in every playthrough, Bastila hassles our MC, saying that his rescue attempt was dumb and lame, and for once she's completely right, so Pax kinda just takes that on the cheek. Moving back to the apartment now, Bastila and Karth get into a little fight over who's in charge. Pax conscientiously objects to this argument, but he doesn't bother sticking around to resolve anything. Upon stepping out of his apartment, a messenger appears. He tells our hero to meet with a fella named Canderous Ordo at the local cantina, and meet him he does. To make a long story short, Canderous wants to get off Terrace, and so does our hero's crew, so he proposes an alliance. If Pax can sneak into a nearby Sith base and steal some launch codes, they'll both be able to leave the planet. To break into the aforementioned base, our hero purchases an astromech, which then hacks the door open. Once inside, our hero finds a computer as quickly as he can and gets to work causing some mayhem. All of the base's defense systems are turned off, and every droid in the complex is turned against their creators. This plausibly deniable chaos nets our hero some much appreciated XP and provides the perfect distraction for him to gather all of the base's loot. Things aren't all sunshine and rainbows though, as the Sith base does contain two scripted enemies, the first of which being a massive assault droid. This boss would be a pain to deal with alone, but since Pax does have some capable friends, it's really not that hard. It's the next boss that really busts our balls. The Sith Governor is a powerful Force user that Pax has to defeat in order to get Canderous' launch codes. The plan to beat him is simple. Our hero will run distraction, while Bastila and Zalbar buff up as much as possible. From there, we just have to pray to RNGesus that our companions don't get perma-stunned. It does take a couple attempts for this plan to work, but victory is achieved nonetheless. With the launch codes acquired, our hero returns to Canderous so he can proceed with the plan. To get off Terrace, the gang needs a ship, and what better ship than the Ebon Hawk, which is currently owned by the galactic crime lord Davik. Through an elaborate ruse that Canderous cooked up, he and Pax would infiltrate Davik's mansion for a fake job interview and steal his ship out from under him. Now, to get to the Ebon Hawk, Pax needs to find the ship's access codes. The ship's former pilot has the codes, but he's being guarded by two droids. This should be a simple matter of sneaking past the droids and freeing the former pilot from his prison, but unfortunately it isn't, because one of the droids has a ridiculous 102 awareness score. I know this is definitely not intended, because the second droid in the room only has 2 awareness, so I think we can chalk this casualty up to a funny development mistake. Speaking of scripted fights, once our hero grabs the Ebon Hawk's access codes, his path is blocked by Davik and his right-hand man, Kalo Nord. They're dead set on taking Pax and friends out to pasture, so a fight breaks out. Pax can't rely on himself or his companions to win this fight, so instead he turns to the certainty of explosive ordnance. This works wonders, and due to how the scene is scripted, none of the bad guys actually die by our hero's hand. A major win for peace, Pax declares, while Terrace is being glassed from orbit. Once clear of the rubble pile formerly known as Terrace, Bastila suggests that the crew lay low at a Jedi enclave on Dantooine, surely in order as non-committal and staunchly pacifist as the Jedi would be excellent company for Pax, so he agrees with the idea. Once on Dantooine, Bastila lets our hero know that the Jedi Council wants to have a word with him. Pax assumes the old men want to award him a medal for his outstanding pacifism, so he happily enters their chambers. There's good news and bad news. The bad news is that there is no medal. The good news though, our hero is Force sensitive and he can train to be a Jedi Knight right away. Pax definitely would have preferred the medal, but becoming a space wizard is okay, I guess. After a quick training sequence, Pax chose to follow the path of the Jedi Consular. As a Consular, he'll be able to succeed in using Force powers more often. He doesn't plan on using any offensive Force powers, instead focusing on granting buffs and using non-damaging crowd control to better equip other people. Seeing as the Jedi Council has never had an apprentice so eager to sit on the fence, they trust our hero with a super important mission right off the bat. They tell him to investigate a dark side corruption that is spread across Dantooine's ecosystem. Pax thinks the Council knows more about this issue than they let on, but he can't prove it. The old men confirm as much by telling Pax that he is right, from a certain point of view. Our hero absolutely loves Jedi platitudes, so this motivates him to try out a few of his own.
Those Mandalorian brutes have killed my daughter.
I will keep you in my prayers.
Nope.
Things will get better eventually.
Greetings, young Jedi.
Don't worry. Be happy. With those crises peacefully resolved, our hero strips buck naked and frolics through the valley. Eventually, this gallivanting leads him to the source of the ecosystem's corruption, an angry Jedi Padawan named Juhani. While we do have to battle her here, we can use the persuasion skill to spare her and convince her to return to the light side. And return to the light side she does. After a brief internal interview, Juhani is found not accountable for any damages caused to Dantooine or her people, and given full reinstatement to the Jedi Order. The Jedi Council are quite happy with this outcome, but there's no time to celebrate just yet. The old men want our hero to do one more thing for them, and that is investigate some spooky ruins. Pax doesn't waste a moment and gets right to it. Within the ruins are some ominous looking droids that admit to murdering a fellow Jedi Knight. To show them what for, our hero answers some questions on a couple nearby terminals. This causes the droids to spontaneously explode for some reason. Not our hero's fault. Moving further into the temple, Pax finds an ancient technology called a star map that leads to something called the Star Forge. Our hero returns to the council with this information, and he is soon informed that the Star Forge is some kind of war machine the Sith are exploiting to cause chaos. The old men task our hero with peacefully protesting on as many planets as possible to create a galactic awareness of the Sith Empire's evil agenda. Pax graciously accepts this mission and takes to his ship to begin the grand work. Before starting his quest, our hero makes a few stops at some trading posts to get basic supplies. There's no special items on my checklist this run because I don't intend to get into any fights, so medpacks, stims, and grenades are the bulk of Pax's purchases. Once fully supplied, our hero begins his campaign on Tatooine. Much to his surprise, he's not the only person campaigning today, as it appears some environmentalists were advocating for the planet's nearly extinct trout population. Pax also overhears something about tense relations with the Sand People. While not quite as important as fish, our hero figures that by relieving these tensions with the natives, he can make cognitive room for his own protests against the Sith. Just as Pax sets out to find a way of communicating with the Sand People, some Sith enforcers appear to silence our hero. However, by simply turning a corner and going into stealth mode, the bad guys give up pretty quickly. Moving on, our hero discovers a droid shop containing a protocol unit that speaks the Sand People's language. It does say a few concerning things.
Am I to accompany you now? Shall I kill something for you?
But you know what they say. Gotta make a few omelets before you can buy new eggs. Wait, that's not right. Anyway, our hero moves right out into the wastes. There, he saves a bad husband from being exploded, reasons with a few bandits, and sneaks by some Sand People to get into their main base. Is what I would say, but unfortunately, stealth can only take our hero so far. The only way to get past these defenses is by wearing a Sand Person disguise, and the only way to get one of those is by taking a Sand Person out. Well, you know what they say, gotta do a little crack before you can get any eggs. Wait, that's not right either. With the disguise donned, our hero is able to walk by the camp's defenses and get to negotiating with the tribe. The chieftain says he'll de-escalate his tribe's violence if someone buys him some moisture evaporators. Pax was always taught that appeasement is the #1 route to peace in one's time, so he agrees to the deal. One quick trip back to the spaceport and a shuffle by some Sith later, the Sand People are even better equipped than they were before. The chieftain of the tribe is so impressed by our hero's stupidity that he asks him to go do something else. He gives Pax a map to another region of Tatooine and tells him to go steal a dragon's treasure. Our hero is a little skeptical about this goal, but the chieftain assures him that the funding the treasure brings will go toward making bike lanes and public gardens. Wouldn't sustaining a public garden in the middle of the desert be ridiculously expensive? Our hero asks. Exactly, the chieftain replies. Now fully understanding the need for the dragon's treasure, Pax sets out into the wastes once more. Upon finding the dragon's cave, our hero comes face to face with the game hunter, who has a plan to take the beast down. All it'll require is guiding a few bantha to the dragon's abode. This would be a simple enough task if it weren't for the rival tribe of Sand People that ambush our hero. The bantha will not move to the mouth of the cave unless the Sand People are taken out, so once again we are scripted into a battle. Well, you know what they say, can't make an omelet without breaking a few eggs. Hell yeah, I got it right that time. With the ambushers defeated, our hero can move his bantha into position. Not long after, the dragon walks out of its cave and is blown to smithereens by landmines. Pax secures the dragon's hoard for his Sand People allies and walks into a brand new ambush. Kylo Nord survived the bombing of Terrace and is now out for revenge. Pax tells him that revenge is a path that leads nowhere, and then runs right by him. Rather hilariously, this fight is not required whatsoever, and there is nothing stopping our hero from leaving. Returning to the Sand People's camp, our hero lets them know the dragon's treasure is theirs for the taking. In exchange for all his help, Pax asks the Sand People to spread the word of the Sith's impending conquest. The chieftain of the tribe says that he will definitely do that for sure. And since our hero doesn't recognize sarcasm, he totally believes him. With that, Tatooine is left a far better place than Pax had found it in, for sure. The next planet on our hero's list is none other than Korriban. Pax has a good feeling about this one. The landing pad is clean, the port authority is keeping order, and all in all, things look super civil. Oh my god. A small detail that our hero didn't take into account when landing here, Korriban is the training ground for darkside force users and a major seat of Sith power. It's obvious Pax's protests won't cause any kind of revolution or anything, but if he could change even a few young minds by infiltrating the Sith Academy, then he would call that a success. To get inside the aforementioned academy, our hero goes for an evil interview. The interviewer illustrates a hypothetical situation for him. If you stumbled upon a family of 4 being attacked by a deadly creature, what would you do? Pax replies that he would do nothing and keep walking. Violence is never the answer. The interviewer doesn't like that latter remark, but the former answer sounded pretty evil, so she lets Pax into the academy. Once he's on campus proper, our hero gets to setting a good example for the students around him. He's diligent in his studies, puts a man into a coma on purpose, and tells one of his fellow students to leave the academy forever. All of these very good deeds draw the attention of another student named Lashao. She's impressed by how cooperative Pax is, and she wants to do an assignment with him. Our hero jumps at the chance to make a new friend and follows Lashao to the Valley of the Dark Lords. In the valley, there are all kinds of ancient Sith artifacts to dig up for extra credit. One such artifact found its way into the belly of a powerful beast. That is why Lashao wanted Pax's cooperation. Together they would take out the beast and extract the artifact for themselves. Obviously, our hero is not into this plan, so he sits by and watches Lashao take care of business. Once the artifact is extracted, Lashao turns on Pax for chickening out. She isn't much of a threat though, as she can be easily ignored. Oh well. Can't save them all, our hero says. Pax decides to earn some extra credit on his own so he can share with nicer people. Diving into one of the nearby Sith tombs, our hero weaves around some enemies, disables a few traps, talks to a ghost, and is bestowed a trio of ancient swords to share with his buddies. One such sword is given to a nice guy named Chardon, who definitely wasn't planning to mug Pax. Chardon is so happy to get a blade of his own that he goes to show it to the headmaster of the academy. Unfortunately, the blade in question isn't of any value, so the headmaster chokes Chardon out for his incompetence. Maybe sharing isn't caring after all. Welp, third time's the charm. Our hero dives into yet another tomb and gets to exploring. Pax finds nothing of interest apart from a hidden gas trap that knocks him out. When he wakes up, he finds himself at the mercy of the former headmaster of the academy, Jorak Uln. He's kidnapped Pax and another student named Mikkel. Jorak plans to torture them both with forced education, but Mikkel doesn't want to go out like this, so he proposes an alliance, which our hero accepts. While our hero keeps Jorak frozen, Mikkel wails on him until he finally dies. Not even 3 seconds after the body hits the floor, Pax makes sure to clarify that he is not liable to any criminal charges that arise from this incident. Mikkel has no idea what that means and decides to dismiss himself from the academy forever. Yet another triumphant victory for peace, our hero declares in the tomb full of dead people. Thanks to Pax's efforts, the Sith Academy's class of 2025 are all unable to graduate. Seeing as our hero is the only student left, the current headmaster of the academy, Uthar Wynn, decides to host the final exam. Naturally, Pax has no choice in the matter, so he allows himself to be dragged into yet another tomb. The final exam isn't that complicated really. Avoid some monsters, grab a grenade, freeze an acid lake, and grab a lightsaber. Pax asks if he can leave now, but Uthar has yet another surprise in store. He tells our hero to do combat with the evil interviewer from earlier to prove who's the strongest. Both Pax and the interviewer think that this is a dumb idea, and decide to turn on Uthar instead. The interviewer declares that she was not paid for this amount of BS and turns to leave. Our hero declares that his mission has been accomplished, so he returns to the Ebon Hawk and blasts off to go burden another planet. And what better planet to hassle than Kashyyyk? Surely the noble Wookiees would lend their ears to the good word of peace. Zalbar agrees that his people definitely aren't fans of the Sith, but they have other problems right now. The Galactic Zerka Corporation are forcing Wookiees to work 9-to-5 desk jobs with no benefits. If Pax wants to help Zalbar's people, then he has to get rid of their corpo overlords. Our hero swears to Zalbar that he will find the least violent solution possible. Pax goes looking for the CEO of the Kashyyyk branch. Branch, like on Kashyyyk, because it's a forest. The Kashyyyk branch of Zerka Corp's operation. On his journey, he convinces a group of Zerka employees to go on an indefinite vacation and dodges some more Sith enforcers. Upon arriving on company grounds, our hero is invited in for a formal meeting with the CEO. His name is Chundar, and he just so happens to be Zalbar's brother. Zalbar protests his brother's shady employment practices, but Chundar will not hear of it. He decides to hold Zalbar in his office for re-education while giving Pax some work to do. that work being the liquefaction of a faulty asset deep in the forest. Our hero makes no promises to do any violence, but for the sake of furthering his own cause, he will at least take a stroll. Pax doesn't get very far before being interrupted. Some bald Sith enforcers try to attack our hero, but their lack of hair doesn't equal any substantial increase in awareness, so our hero slips away from them easily. Just a few paces down the road, Pax comes face to face with an exiled Jedi named Jolee Bindo. He's like a Jedi, but more sarcastic, which means our hero doesn't understand him very well. He does understand a request to get some whippersnappers off Jolee's lawn though. It's a simple matter of turning off some defensive equipment, and boom, they get chased out of the forest. Jolee is happy with our hero's work and joins his party to guide him further. Deeper into the forest now, Pax spots a Wookiee being assaulted by a group of Mandalorians. Though he can't directly help, a few well-timed stuns help the walking carpet survive until the end of the fight. When the Wookiee asks for further help clearing out more Mandalorian raiders, Pax says nuh-uh and runs away. Now onto the meat and potatoes of Kashyyyk, the political conflict. The person Chundar wants liquidated is he and Zalbar's dad, Freyr. If you spare Freyr, he'll free the Wookiee village and fight Zerka off the planet. If you kill him, Chundar will stay in power and nothing will change. What matters the most in this run is how many people have to be directly killed by Pax and which option has the least bloodshed involved. The Freyr path requires Pax to kill 1 to 4 people directly, while the Chundar path only requires a single death, and that is Freyr himself. Sorry, old man. With everything our hero can do on Kashyyyk now exhausted, he climbs back up to the treetops and lets Chundar know that he chose the least violent option possible. Pleased with Pax's work, the CEO assures our hero that he'll send out an AI-generated email about the Sith in 3 to 5 business days. Calling upon another useful Jedi platitude, Pax assures himself that he did his best and returns to the Ebon Hawk to wrap up this mission. However, the Sith have other plans. They ambush the Ebon Hawk and tractor beam it into one of their flagships. Pax figures that all of his activism has been working exactly as intended, and now the Sith really want to make sure he stays quiet. Karth thinks the Sith are just doing this because they're bored and evil, but our hero ignores this sentiment. Some Sith troopers arrest Pax and his crew and put them inside torture cages. Pax defiantly claims that the Sith scum won't stop his mission no matter how much pain they inflict. Mission? What mission? We were just bored and wanted something to do. Our hero isn't in his cell for long, as Mission Veo is able to sneak in and free everybody with ease. What won't be easy though is avoiding combat this deep into enemy territory, especially when Bastil and Karth are both required companions. They are nowhere near as sneaky as Pax, so it takes some micromanaging to get them from A to B without violence. The micromanaging is only a little annoying the first time around, but after the level's required boss fight, things become really unfun. As you're trying to escape the Sith flagship, infinite waves of enemies will start hunting you. Even if you try to be sneaky, the enemy AI will be too spread out and detect your party anyway. This leads to a few required kills in order to escape, though I'm almost confident that if I were luckier, I could have gotten by with less or even no kills. But lucky, I was not. Thankfully, the end of the level does not require sneaking. All that remains is the boss battle with Darth Malak. Finally, our hero says, a confrontation with my grand nemesis. Who are you again? Just as Pax was about to do something he would not regret, Bastila cuts in and distracts Malak so the gang can escape. With no other choice but to press on and complete his mission, our hero makes course for Manon. Manon is the most delightful planet our hero could have asked for. It's civilized, clean, and hopelessly entrenched in legal bureaucracy. It's the perfect environment for an activist like Pax to disrupt. With a renewed sense of purpose, Pax cracks the code to a Sith base's front door and strolls on inside. He sneaks around, gets up to some familiar tricks, saves a group of natives from being indoctrinated, confiscates some damning evidence, and retrieves stolen property. Upon exiting the base, our hero is put under arrest by the local authorities for trespassing. But this is all part of the plan. Now with the very public platform of a courtroom, our hero exposes the Sith's warmongering ways by presenting evidence of a planned coup. This clears our hero of all guilt and creates massive blowback for the Sith. Pax has done well, but his mission is not done yet. An ambassador from the Galactic Trout Association begs for our hero's help. The GTA had established a Tatooinian trout preserve on Manan, but the local shark population has put major dents in their numbers. Our ambassador calls on Pax to go down to the underwater preserve and save the trout. Our hero wastes no time and takes a submersible down to the seafloor. Within the shark-damaged preserve, our hero discovers a sonic emitter and a scuba suit for him to investigate the situation. Unfortunately, the sonic emitter insta-kills wild sharks, but these deaths are required lest our hero die himself. In another part of the preserve, Pax finds a pair of trapped scientists. They explain that the prize specimen of the preserve, the mega trout, is currently being attacked by sharks right now. The only way to save it is by poisoning all of the sharks or scaring the sharks away by blowing up part of the preserve. It's a hard choice, but our hero does what's necessary to save lives. The sharks swim far, far away, leaving the mega trout alone. Pax returns to the surface, lets the GTA know that he released their prize specimen into a foreign ecosystem, and is paid for his environmental negligence. Our hero is then arrested for that same reason, but believe it or not, this was part of the plan yet again. In front of Manon's most powerful lawmakers, he asks for Manon's support against the Star Forge to protect the freedom of the entire galaxy. The lawmakers would agree to help, but they find Pax guilty of environmental terrorism. Our hero has no time to serve a jail sentence, so he runs for his life to the Ebon Hawk and blasts off into the unknown regions of the galaxy, prepared to confront the threat of the Sith and their insidious Star Forge. With the dastardly space station now in front of them, Pax orders Karth to summon the Republic fleet to their coordinates. What, you expect our hero to blow up the space station himself? That'd be violent. It wouldn't matter either way, because things start to go wrong with the ship. An EMP wave wrecks the Ebon Hawk systems and sends it careening down into a nearby planet. The ship ain't going nowhere, with that EMP field still active, so Pax gets to work unplugging it. The planet's warlike natives introduce themselves, which Pax ignores. But then they introduce themselves again, and it's more convincing this time. They bring our hero to their leader, the One. He wants our hero to kill a tech tribe for him, to which Pax replies with nuh-uh. Instead, Pax visits the tech tribe in question, figures they're pretty chill, and decides to go rescue one of their members from the One's tribe. The savages are not happy with this turn of events, so they try to attack Pax, but they are all ignored. Even the One himself can be ignored with corner magic, and the tech tribe member Pax was sent to find is freed. Unfortunately, he runs into all of the enemies our hero neglected to defeat and is brutalized instantly. Still, the tech tribe gives our hero an A for effort and agrees to open up the temple where the EMP is coming from. Juhani and Jolie join in on the fun as well, but they're not much help. Pax fools around in the temple for a bit, turning all of the high-level droids against the Sith enemies. In doing so, he's able to scavenge a little more XP for some endgame level ups. Very useful for the final battle. Anyways, once Pax is done messing around, he does a floor puzzle, messes with a computer, ascends to the peak of the temple, and comes face to face with Bastila, who is evil now. She brags about how powerful she's become by turning to the dark side of the Force, and our hero says that's great and all, but she's still in a 3-on-1. Bastila is humbled quite quickly, and she rage quits the video game. As a result, Pax can turn off the EMP field and return to the Ebon Hawk. Now back with his crew, Pax reassures them that thanks to his successful activism across the galaxy, every sentient being will lend their hands to fight the Sith. The Admiral of the Republic fleet says that nobody came except them. Because of these low numbers, our hero is conscripted into battling on the station itself to draw attention away from the Republic fleet. Reluctantly, our hero agrees to help, but on the condition that he gets a big fat medal. With dreams of a shiny ribbon adorning his chest, our hero lands on the Star Forge and gets running. And boy do I mean running. The first 2 floors can be bypassed completely without killing anyone, though Pax does linger on the 2nd floor to get a new set of robes. It's the 3rd floor where some fighting is required. Our hero has to take out a group of Sith who are guarding the boss of this floor, Bastila. She calls for a fair one-on-one with our less than lethal hero and won't take no for an answer. This fight requires a little bit of lollygagging, but it's nothing a few Force whirlwinds can't deal with. Bastila is really not happy with this outcome and begs Pax to finish the fight, but our hero refuses. If Juhani could be redeemed scot-free, then so could she. The idea of not being responsible for her heinous actions is pretty convincing, so she agrees to be good again, and allows Pax to move on to the final battle. Darth Malik, who still doesn't remember our hero at all, locks him in a room with a bunch of infinitely spawning killer droids. Pax just cracked the lock on this door and ignores this fight altogether. Upon catching up with Malik, our hero tells the big bad Sith to take things seriously, or else he'd protest against it. Malik laughs and says our hero's paltry words will do him no good here. This is a required fight to the death. In the name of peace, our hero ignites his saber, chugs some buffs, and takes Malik on. Round after round goes by with nothing happening until Malik runs out of force points. It's then he tells Pax to come and look upon the corpses. By utilizing the Starforge's technology, Malik can siphon power from force-sensitive people and regain all of his HP and force points. This isn't too big of a deal though, since Pax can do this too. Our hero runs around the room, freeing all of the suspended people without hurting them, and turns his attention to Malik once again. It's obvious that even though the two are evenly matched once again, Pax does not stand a chance against Malik. So instead of dueling him with the lightsaber, our hero resorts to a more assured tactic. Remember kids, if you're bad at KOTOR, just buy a buttload of grenades. They'll solve any problem. The problem in question finally kicks the bucket, Pax returns to his crew, and they all escape the Starforge just before the Republic fleet blows it to smithereens. Now our hero may not have been a perfect pacifist. He did hurt a few people who may or may not have deserved it, but those evils are greatly outweighed by Pax's great deeds of activism. Yup. Pax has made the galaxy a better place. And now he finally had a medal to prove that yes, you can beat KOTOR by playing as a pacifist. And there you have it, folks. This was my longest challenge run so far, and the most unique one I've attempted. I wouldn't recommend trying this challenge in your own KOTOR runs, but I can recommend leaving a like if you enjoyed the video, and subscribing for more content like this. If you want to get more involved in my future projects, consider becoming a channel member to support me in my endeavors. But yeah, apart from that, thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.